Hello, hello. Let's see. I have YouTube here with my TikTok so that I can sort of do both. Um, as per usual, getting comfortable with my cameras and seeing the best ways that I want them to be. And that kind of changes as I go because life be changing. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Nancy Rose Yoga Show. Um, it's Sunday, and I wanted to share what Sundays look like in Nancy Land. So every day of the week, I have a personal protocol for my energy wellness. Each day has like a theme and an energy and like a mission, and all of it is to sort of continuously groom and love my energy, to kind of continuously grow my energy and the magnet of what I'm creating. So I have learned about our energy mostly through my yoga practice. When I found this work 9 years ago on this weekend 9 years ago, um, it was a total accident. And, I felt like I was definitely at a space where one part of life was ending and I had no idea what was going to begin on the other side. Um, a lot of times people will ask me, well, how did yoga save your life? I use that hashtag a lot in the beginning of my sharing journey. And there's a whole funny story about hashtags that I like to talk about when I get all the way back to the beginning, because I've done so much growing and evolving just in my own personal self. And hashtags is one example I have of that. So when I first started sharing social media, we didn't have hashtags that I knew of. And so by the time it came around, I sort of resisted it. Um, I would like, meh, that's stupid. And, you know, um, I'm not talking mean about myself, but when a person is practicing a lower vibration pretty regularly, there are certain phrases and energy types that go with that. For example, like for me, I didn't think much of what yoga or wellness in the beginning of all this. I thought that was um, not real. And while I know it was real. I can see people doing yoga all the time, but I didn't know. I I don't know how to really say this. The truth is, I was so unhappy that happy people seemed fake. That's the only way I can explain it. I was so unhappy. And when I would see a person being happy, it felt so unnatural. Like, how could they be that happy? And that's real. And I thought that being real was always more important um, than anything else. Being real was important, period. I also have to say that when I was young, I was taught that what we believe in, we will be committed to believe in. As in, when you decide you believe something, it isn't encouraged that you go against your beliefs. Um, in fact, that makes you fake, which we never want to be fake. So once you believe something, it doesn't matter. Doesn't you see that weird shadow? It doesn't matter. If something comes up, that's what you believe. You got to stay not fake and continue this belief. So in the beginning, when I would learn things from like my parents, most of my parents were pretty much the only adults that like told us things, and I feel like they did a pretty good job. Like they covered all the bases of what they felt we should know as far as like going into the world. The only thing is some of the things that they were saying, I wouldn't tell my kids that now, and I don't even know if they would necessarily tell me that now. But again, this went with this is the rules. You do what you're told, not to question. I was always encouraged not to question authority. So now here I come to this life 9 years ago. I just turned 47 a couple of days ago. So 9 years ago, I was about 36, right? 38. And so I find myself on a birthday trip, and I was in a definite space where decisions had been made. I had never been to Key West before, and that's where we went for my birthday. I was not a morning person yet. I was never a yoga person yet. I'd gone to yoga one time in my life previously in my 20s, and that was a walk away from it experience. I went to a free yoga center downtown, and this was my body was about 230 pounds. But I was 20, so I felt pretty healthy and happy. I was loved. So, I didn't really care that much, honestly. Um, so I told my boyfriend at the time, I'm going to go to this yoga class. And in my guts, I knew there was something for me and yoga way back in my 20s. But when I went to this yoga class and I found that this was like yoga for like workout, this isn't yoga like I share. This was yoga like most of the people in the class knew the poses, and they were going to burn energy on purpose for like fitness. That's totally cool, but that's not my kind of yoga, like at all. So I get to this class, I went into the back and I did my best to keep up. It was embarrassing. God, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall. I wish I could have a snippet of that. Did I even finish the class? I can't remember. I almost can bet your sweet ass I didn't do resting pose. Um, but I left that night thinking, well, I'll never do that again. Even back then, I just felt like yoga would have been easier for me. Not that it would be easy. I just felt like it would be easier for me, whatever that meant. So I didn't try yoga again until I was like later pregnant with my oldest. And at that point, I sort of put on like a YouTube, and I would try to find some prenatal yoga, mostly breath work and just seated poses, stretches, the cat cow, stuff to just help me at home, to kind of help me be calm. This was also the first time in my then relationship where we weren't together. So we had always been together, always together, always together. Nancy gets pregnant all alone. It happens, and it's probably one of the reasons why I will probably never encourage someone to go to the bar to find the love of their life, especially while they're in the heights of their drinking season, because likely you're going to attract a fellow drinker. And if you're wanting to do the family thing, feels a little alone when you're the only one not still at the bar. And all my planning, I really dropped the ball on that idea. I just kind of figured, I don't know what I figured. I really don't know what I figured. So I practiced a little bit of yoga with my first baby, and it was okay. By the time I finished the pregnancy, I didn't practice any more of the prenatal yoga. Um, and then when I again was pregnant with my second daughter, maybe a little bit of breathing, but I didn't really actually felt happier that pregnancy around. I'd already gotten used to the way life was being. There weren't as many shocks as far as like, oh, now you're all alone. I gotten used to that. Now there's another kid here, and I was getting the groove. But 9 years ago, I learned that I was surprise pregnant again, and it was not the plan. I my then husband and I had used birth control, you know. It wasn't even just like I didn't give a care. I on purpose to not do that. And I used to teach women's health. I ran one of the busiest Planned Parenthoods in Maryland for a few years, and I kept saying, "But I know this. I teach people this. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm accidentally pregnant?" I kept saying to myself, "Mm-mm, nuh-uh, that's not true." So I get to this birthday trip 9 years ago. Nobody really knew about my surprise secret because I didn't know what I was going to do about any of those details. I pretty much was sure that the initial shock couldn't happen. And honestly, the easiest decision was that I would just like check out. And that sounds crazy from here now. But back then, that thought was the one that brought the most relief. So I get to the beach trip, and again, I'm not a morning person. I've never been to Key West before. And so I wake up really early in the morning. It's still dark. It was like late 4 hour or early 5 o'clock hour. I can't remember. Um, and I just leave the hotel and just start walking. And it felt like I was sleepwalking, except I don't sleepwalk and I knew I was awake. I just start walking. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't have like an agenda. I just knew. It was weird. It's like being under a spell, except I was completely awake, but not like and again, I was sober. Not that I said that before, but I was sober. Maybe there was a couple of drinks the night before, but nothing that would even help me to not even oversleep. Usually for me, if I had drank and I didn't need to get up, I would just sleep a little. That was not the case. So I'm walking in the dark, and I don't know where I'm going, and I know where I'm going at the same time. And this is sort of why I like this story for the beginning of our intuition work. And I want to always remind us that our intuition will never insert itself into our experience. It's always there, but it's never going to make you listen. You got to be the one. You have to be the one to decide. You have to choose it. And in the beginning of not doing that, it it feels very uncertain. And especially if you're a person who has not practiced believing in herself or valuing her own opinion about her choices. I was the kind of person who would ask, what should I eat that day? Really, things that don't need to, first of all, waste other people's airtime. And no offense to those humans who live like that. I know how it feels. I used to do that too. But what starts out as some harmless call for attention, call for interaction, ultimately continuously feeds this pit of I'm not good enough. I don't know the best things for me, not even what to eat, you know? So here I am, fast forward, early in this morning, and I'm walking and I don't know where I'm going, and I know where I'm going. And I come to this pier, and the pier was just like straight out the street, and then it goes really far into the water. I start walking on the pier, and you can see the water coming, because first the pier is sort of on ground and then water starts coming. So I'm seeing the water, and I'm walking a little ways, and all of a sudden the on top of the water feeling, because the boards were like sort of sitting on the ocean, and it started to feel really dizzying. Even though it was very dark, it just started feeling like I was walking on this tightrope and it was all water around. And it was like sort of dizzying. And usually, like if I get dizzy, I want to sit down. The thing is, though, I could feel like this on my head. I don't know how to explain it. That's always what it felt like. But it just, I took my back and I put it to one of the beams at the pier. And I just could feel like this. Obviously, I wanted to sit down and I wanted to walk. But I really felt like something pushing me down, almost like a coffee press. And I sat down and I just stared into the darkness and I let myself stabilize and I just started taking it all in. I started thinking about why I was there and immediately started crying. I started asking the universe to quick do something. Um, and I didn't have an answer. And it wasn't long of sitting there though that I started to just feel and hear Rose. And back then I didn't have a name for Rose. I could just know it was my big voice. It was me. I just had gotten so far away from listening to that part of me by then. So while I heard and I knew who it was, I don't know, I also just felt far away. So I talked to God and I was like, okay, we're here. I'm really sorry. I kept saying, I'm sorry. And I don't know how to say this, like other than the way it was. Again, our intuition, our big self, my Rose, your hub stream, whatever you call your higher self, they can't make you do anything. So this one time I was driving in a car with my BFF. We were young. Her daughter was in the back at the time. She only had one kid. She's got three now. And we're driving up 29th Street. And a car like cut in front of us and then like slam brakes. And our car stopped immediately. Um, I was driving a stick. I was driving and I looked down at the brake pulled and I looked at Mary and I said, Did you pull that? And she said, No, you did. And I still don't remember doing that. Okay. My intuition knew I wanted to live. My intuition knew that I would want to not crash. So I do believe in that moment, my intuition helped take that action beyond my even own awareness. Fast forward to the pier, though, my intuition isn't going to make me or not make me do something. And so on Sundays, we me we talk about slowing it all down. And what are we slowing down? We're slowing down everything in our thought forms, everything in our thinking mind, every part of our experience has a connection to a thought, and every connection to our experience is shaped and yielded for those thoughts and feelings and our belief in how we relate to them. Everything that we experience, work, life, love, body, Instagram to YouTube, all the things has a connection to that and can be tweaked in and through those same channels. So I'm sitting on the pier and I hear my big self. I didn't know the name, but I recognized Big Self. I just hadn't heard much from them lately. It's kind of like, yo, what? You're a little late. We're already here, you know? But I sat and I just heard, you can do this, but you don't have to. And I was like, but I don't have to. I'm all the way here. Do you know how much preparation? You know how much preparation has gone into this. You know, like I got forms notarized. So you can do this, but you don't have to. And I'm like, but because surprise, pregnant. I'm like, no, all this is on this wasn't supposed to happen. Not only is this wrong, this is unbearable. I cannot make it through this. I kept thinking, I can't make it through this. I didn't, I was pretty sure I wouldn't make it through it. And I just kept hearing, you can do it, but you don't have to. And if you want to stay, if you want to listen to me, I will help you be happy. And that really kind of pissed me off. I'll be honest. I did everything that the humans said would make us happy. I have the babies and I have the husband. Why am I not happy? And now you want to tell me you'll let me know how to be happy? If I don't go through with this being the only thing to bring me relief, now you'll tell me. Back then, I was so cynical all the time. And so, as I had a little bit of a back and forth with myself, this was the very first night we woke up from getting there. And the very first day, I planned to see the plan through. But I'm sitting there and I heard, well, you're going to be here for 2 more nights. Give me this day. I did not want to leave the pier because I really felt like if I left, I might never find my way back. And what if I was afraid? What if I would chicken out? What if I wouldn't be able to? But I just kept hearing, like, I can do this. You do still have 2 more days. And I can make you happy, which was ultimately what I wanted. I didn't want to be where I was. It just felt like that was the only option. So I'm sitting there. It's the sun starting to come up. And still all I can see is the ground and this long pier. Like looks like it's so long you could walk out into the middle of the ocean. And by now the pressure, like I'm telling you, when I felt like the thing set me down, I felt like I was contained in this pressure. I don't know how to explain how that felt. So I'm sitting there and it's the sun's coming up and I'm realizing I haven't done what I was going to do. So obviously we're waiting till tomorrow. I was very much at an indecisive space, but again, I used to ask everybody else what I needed for lunch. So it was kind of like, okay, all right, fine. Let's see what this day looks like. Um, I'm sitting there staring out at the pier, kind of like really not sure what to do with myself. You ever get to a space where you never meant to be and then you just have to figure out what to do? Like truly never meant to be there. What do you do? So I'm sitting there staring out the pier and I'm about 36 or 38 years old. It's 9 years ago. Somebody else help me with math. And I'm sitting here, right, on the pier. My back is to the wall. Sprick it or something. That wasn't on the pier. I'm sitting there, like, back against the wall. And from my right side, a woman walks, like, here. and then up the pier. She walked straight up the pier too, which I thought was kind of cool. And it was almost like, is she gonna just keep going? Like copycat, stealing my ideas. So she gets to the end of the pier and she started doing yoga. She walked all the way to the edge of the pier, which I couldn't even do. As soon as I got on the pier, I got smashed down. And I'm looking, and she got all the way to the end of the pier and she's doing yoga. She was probably mid 50s, 60s. And I just sat there stunned. And that's pretty much how I felt the rest of the weekend. I didn't still talk to my person, my then husband. I just pretended that everything was the same that it had already been. you know, um, but that it was sitting on the pier and watching that woman that morning walk out. And that's when I sort of heard there, like, go to yoga, bitch. And I was like, oh God, okay. And I did. I got home. One of my clients, I had a home daycare. One of my clients also taught yoga. And right up the street from my home, like a half a block walking distance, there was a place where she practiced and she knew the teacher who then turned out to be like a huge important person in my like healing journey. I again had only gone to yoga the one time in that class where they did it for like workout stuff. I'm telling you guys, I'm in this class. The place is called Womb Room. Okay, so there's first of all, the energy was just like I've always wanted. I've always wanted a loving mommy. Like I've always been a little bit of a baby about it. And now that my mom has passed away, I have a tickle in my throat, my bad. Thank you, water. Thank you. Now that my mom has passed away, she and I communicate really well. I laugh all the time. It's not funny to people who don't find it funny, but I feel like me and my mom did not get along when she was alive, but we do get along really well now. And she's one of my biggest supports. I know she loves me. I know she loved me even when she was alive. But now, like, my mom's really got my back. And so sometimes when I hear people suffering because of a lost person that they love and they aren't letting their self talk to them, it really breaks my heart because this this body, this life, this is just like a spot. My mom's not gone, my grandmother, none of the people that I perceive as left the body are gone from my life. They still, like, my one of my best friends had passed away about 10 years ago, and he's a chef, and I still feel like he helps and cooks with me all the time. Whenever I'm singing like certain songs or watching Grease, he is there contributing and adding on. And I mean sometimes even participating with others. So I don't want to get too lost in all that we are because we are so much. But I do want to say that it was that weekend 9 years ago, and it was that woman walking onto the pier that showed me that yoga would be the place where I would learn how to hear. It would be where I would learn how to slow it all down and let my thoughts become something I was able to manage. It's sort of like um, eating whatever you want, just eating, and then learning like, oh, well, this food has sugar in it and this food has protein in it. Letting myself listen to my thoughts and understand my thought forms was how we understood what did what. If I'm wanting to create something, then now I know how to like move my inner thought energy so that I can magnetize that. Um, Once upon a time, it sort of seemed like if I wanted something, I'd just go and tell everybody that I don't have it and just keep saying I don't have this thing that I want until it would appear. And now I understand it to be I align to the thought of having it. I practice thought forms. I practice emotionalizing those thought forms and I wait for them to appear. I know they will appear and I wait for them to appear. Um, and yoga is where my mind and my body were able to learn how to work together. So, when I first started learning, I was still around 186 pounds. I did not start practicing yoga for my body at all. It was all for my sadness, and not wanting to be Nancy anymore. And I I just I just was tired of it. I was really tired of trying to lose weight and trying to do that. That was just also I was tired of that. I was tired of everything that I was doing, but I was just not trying to work on it. It was just like, get it away from me. Get it away from me. Get it away from me. You know? But it was through my yoga practice, through understanding my energy and through soothing my thoughts that my body just lost the weight. Um, the same way that my body let myself shift out of the addictive part. Like the same way that I stopped doing things that I had been doing for 10 years, 20 years. Um, I just stopped doing them. Things that don't usually just stop doing, And so I know that anything in our world that we have access to in our life as a human is all malleable and it's all shared to us through us by our thought energy and our emotional body. And that's really what yoga taught me. Yoga taught me how to stop the noise and how to be with myself long enough to figure out what was going on. I wasn't loving on me, and I was living inside of me, and I was channeling anger, resentment. I was channeling bitterness. I was channeling the not good enough. And once I was able to soothe that and rewire that, everything started changing. My body, the desire to get wasted, um, the desire to stay in a relationship that was not happy, even though I had zero idea how one would make life otherwise. Um, I just keep figuring it out. And I know that I'm just gonna keep figuring it out because even as harder times arise now, because life is still life, like even though I know how to drive and dance and sing and talk, there's still opportunities that feel harder than others. But I will never forget the morning I'm sitting on the pier and I thought that there were no more answers here and how far, far away from the truth I was and how much I would have missed if I wouldn't have listened to Rose that day and how ready I was not to listen. I was really, really thinking that. Um, and how sometimes it's great to be wrong. I wanted something and I thought it was the thing and it wasn't the thing and I was wrong. And I'm glad that I listened to myself and let myself hear it the right way. So on Sundays we practice slowing down our thought energy, slowing down the whole day. We do everything that we have to do. I have 3 kids and a home and a little bit of a zoo in the animals. So we take care of everything just in a slower space. There is no rush. Um, it's just slower, you know? I'm a pretty gentle parent as it goes. I homeschool. I'm not like an alarm clocks kind of a mom. I'm here like, ow, I'm here. Like, let me be the soil for you to, oh, look at my kitty. She's trying to bite me. I want to show you how cute she is, even when she's trying to eat me. I just want to be the dirt that like protects you and loves you while you're coming into your awesomeness. And I don't really think that it takes a whole lot of like parental intervention. I was raised in the 80s, and while I thought I had like one of the best childhoods, there could have also been like, by today's standards, potential spaces of neglect. But I think that those spaces of being left alone were where like I was able to kind of get really good ideas and explore. I mean, I didn't sit on our devices like my littles do now. I was always out in the field running around with my friends, and it was quite like the Goonies. But yeah, so on Sundays I let my little people wake up when they feel like it, and we just take it easy. We don't do school on Sundays, even though I did think about it today because we missed a day last week and I really wanted to do this one lesson, but I think I'll just wait till tomorrow. So, yeah. And then tomorrow. So, tomorrow is Monday, and on Monday, we will focus on mindset. I love that it's on Monday after Sunday because on Sunday, having slowed everything down, you can see, what do I think about this? Where am I at with it? What do I think about this? What am I at with it? And you can do that in a couple of ways. So if you're thinking about something and you can feel that you are happy about it, it's pretty obvious indicator that you are aligned to that thought. If you're thinking an idea and it feels sad or scary, that's you giving yourself the feedback that that is what you're calling in, but you don't want it. The way that you would counteract that energy, that calling in, is literally the way it sounds. So just do a little bit of like tapping, quieting it down, like, I am not my thoughts. Thank you for telling me this so that I can choose something else. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing me where I am so I can see where I want to go. Thanks for the information, but I'm gonna do this. Available for this. I'm going over there. Thank you for showing me where I'm going, but I'm going over there. You know, it's funny, like when you think a thought and you feel something in your belly that doesn't feel good, it would seem like we could just switch it, right? Just except that momentum has ensued. If you can think it and feel a reaction like that, you've already got a couple of seconds in there, which means it's already sort of culminating. Oh my God, this cat is adorable, even when she's eating me. And when something's already culminating, the easiest thing to do is just try to starve it. You don't want to go against a movable current. It's gonna suck you in. So if it's too hard to soothe the thought, then you would just ignore it for a little while. Um, for me, when I came home from the pier, now I've done had a baby. I wasn't trying to lose weight, but I just wanted to stop being so upset when I looked in the mirror. And in the beginning of that work, I was just told don't look at yourself. You already know your outfits. You already know what they're going to look like for like 2 weeks. Just put them on and don't look. Literally, I was told not to look at myself like from then there down for like 2 weeks. Look at her eating me. And then again, this is not the same advice I would give someone on a medical diet or any professional regimen. But I was told no more calorie counting. Oh, I want to. I don't know. I don't know why it's so amusing when they do that, like, but it is. It's so amusing. It's a little painful too. I was told no looking in the mirror, no calorie count, no diet mind. Eat what you want. Um, and I literally said, "Oh, great! Let's gain 100 pounds while we're at it." Again, Cynical Cindy was one of my names. So but that's not what happened at all. Ow, ow. And in fact, as I've learned to teach body manifesting, I don't even have the initial ripple anymore. When I first would teach it, I'd be like, okay, guys, just so you know, I'm going to gain like 10 pounds while we're talking about this. But don't worry, it goes away really quick. The first time I showed somebody that, it was really fun. My BFF and I were working at, oh my God, the cat. We were working at the castle together. We were lunch ladies. And she would watch me eat donuts every day. She was like, how are you eating donuts with an S every day? And like, how am I not seeing donuts with an S every day? And it was just funny because, we kind of went through the bump. I'm like, well, I can do whatever I want. I said, as soon as I start talking about it, I'm going to gain a couple pounds, but don't worry, it'll go away. And sure enough, she was like, oh shit. So of course she copied and now she lives the life. We live the donut if we want to life. Can't even tell you the last time. No, I did have a donut Thursday. I think she brought donut. She had one random donut that her daughter had brought. So we shared donut the other day. But yeah. You can make up all the rules for that. One of the things that I say to my ladies when we first start doing body manifesting coaching, you gotta forget you're fat. And they look at me like, bitch, what'd you just say? And I'm like, I know. That's what Rose told me. Of course, Rose says some weird things to me. This one time I was at the castle and I had been manifesting. I started manifesting like a mother at the castle. Oh, this cat, I want to eat her belly and and her body. But at one point, to manifest, sometimes you have to see what has been blocking it, right? How do we see what's been blocking it? This is where your shadow work comes in. You never have to look for shadow work. Okay, I know that everybody has the little books. That's cool. But the real shadow work comes when you want something and you notice that you're the one not letting yourself have it. That's when you can be like, okay, I'm ready for this. This is what I'm ready to address. Real life instances, real life. I am calling in something and I don't believe I can have it or I deserve it or whatever the language is. That's shadow work. Letting yourself move through that and be like, no, I'm going to know that from now on. I'm going to say no. She just wants to eat me, and I want to squish her face. Like Elmira. You know it. I wish you could see her. She just keeps bawling. She's so cute. um, so intuition. That's what we're going to be talking about this week. My hope and my knowing is that as I share the stream more frequently, consistently, we will be able to have Q&A time. I want to share different, oh my God. So I finally did the putty stuff on my tub and my hands were covered. It's just a little bit now, but I keep getting these little like balls, these little balls of like sealant stuff all around me. So as we are going, I'm going to share what I do during my day. I'm going to share different stories, different ways that the healing work has helped me. If you are here, you can ask questions live and we will answer them. Um, if you see this and watch the repeat, you can ask questions that I can answer tomorrow or the next day as we go along. Um, Eventually, I want this to be more interactive so that we have time with me sharing and time with questions and answers and real life examples. Because at this point, this is 9 years in for me. And there isn't really much that I haven't covered and or shared back even. So I'm just ready to do it a little bit more deliberately now and more efficiently. And I felt it was perfect to go back to the name, the Nancy Rose Yoga Show, because while yoga is a huge part of my life, there is so much more to yoga than just the poses that we can practice, you know? And letting ourselves do anything. So for me, it was yoga, but you could, maybe you like to sing, maybe you like to dance, maybe you build, maybe you draw. It doesn't have to be yoga. It could be anything that you let yourself be so into that you can quiet your mind. And maybe it's more than one thing. When I first work with people, I like to teach multiple stimulation meditation. I've got a little bit of the ADHD, and meditating and sitting still in the traditional way didn't come to me. I never really got into that the way that the gurus said you could on the TV. So I had to figure out how to get there myself. And in the beginning, I would let myself pick a couple of things, like a candle to look at, something to hold, maybe, and something to listen. And instead of just choosing one to let my focus blend into, I would just oscillate. Like a minute I'd look at the flame, and then I'd feel my hand, and then I'd listen to the hum, and then I would just keep going and keep going. And by doing three things that don't have that much of an emotional tie in my body, again, when you're doing meditation, you're doing something that you don't have a lot of connection to, so that you can be awake and hearing. You don't want to be so, yeah. So sometimes when you're doing a meditation and there's like a whole, like a person running it, or even, okay, so let's just say there are different ways for meditation to land in your body. And there are times that will be better for you to hear and better times for you to just do and be a no. And ultimately, you have access to all of that. It's just learning how to be inside of your mind and let it work for you. One of my favorite things to do is, do you ever walk into a room and forget why you're there? Like I do, a kind of medium a lot. But now I can also walk into the room. I knew I forgot. So I'll say, why am I here? And it'll come in my head. That's really fun. There are lots of ways that you can sort of start using your intuition to be your partner, to help you out. In the morning when I wake up, I just do all of the quiet practices that I like to do to start the inner fire and to get the magnet going. So I won't get right on social media, and I won't get right into my text messages, and I won't get right into the email. I'm just going to give myself a little time with the lights still low. I make coffee. I put the yoga mat out. Sometimes I will stretch a little. Sometimes I'll journal what thoughts. Sometimes I wake up from a dream and it's like, whoa, that's really weird. And I have to write it down, following some sort of synchronicity trail. Synchronicities are super helpful in the beginning. They're helpful all the time, but especially when you're wanting to get started and wanting to learn how to master all this magic. so so today, for example, today I woke up, actually it was yesterday, but today and yesterday has been the colors purple and red. Um so I like to look for examples of seeing purple and red together. What was it? Oh, yesterday at one point I had a lot of pink and white. My BFF was over the other day and she was wearing, oh, what did she have on? Checker pants, and it was so interesting. She had like a blue periwinkle jacket, black and white checkered pants, and a little bit of cleavage showing. I happened to look down and I went to pick up this lighter. And this lighter had a little bit of checker on the outside, blue tracings, and it was like a salt shaker. So it was funny. It said salty in cursive, and the L in cursive looked like cleavage. So I picked it up and I was like, oh my God, Mary, you're in the lighter. Look, there's your boobs. And and so while that seems a little like, what? Synchronicities are so much bigger than the numbers. Synchronicities are so much bigger than, oh, this song, I heard it in my head and here it is. When you can see that you are in the pattern that you are in, that's a hell of a synchronicity. You are really noticing at that point. And that's just how it gets to be. Your higher self is always sort of knowing what you're wanting to do or not. My higher self knew I didn't really want to keep going off of the pier that morning, but also knew that it can't make me not do it. So it gave me the idea, it gave me the time to sit and think. It let the lady come, walk to the edge of the pier, and share her yoga practice. And that was really all I needed to come back home with the seed of yoga planted and just start. Now, the first time I get to yoga, I would laugh so hard. So I went to prenatal yoga because, again, surprise prego. I'm in yoga class. I stayed in the back of the class, and I'm here, like, not, again, I'm the most cynical creature back then. So I'm in the yoga class, I'm on the mat. We start moving through down dog, right? Not down dog. We went a little bit through down dog, and then we get into cat cow. Cat cow, where it's like back, belly low, back high, and just moving the midsection, right? I started crying. I started crying so hard, and I didn't know why I was crying. I'm just sitting here trying to do cat cow, listening to Heather, and next thing you know, I'm like, and I'm like crying. I'm like snotting. I'm trying to wipe my boogers on my shirt. I'm trying to like not let nobody see because I'm really embarrassed. I'm crying. Like, right? Did you cry? Just like, I mean, books, everything. So at the end of the class, I get myself together. Nobody said nothing. I'm thinking, okay, cool. Nobody noticed. I didn't know what it was, but something about the way that felt, I wanted to do it again. I wasn't super impressed with much of it. Just really liked the fact that I could just go sit there apparently on the mat and cry and nobody even looked at me. That was kind of nice. I went back the next week. Same thing happened again. I really kind of didn't expect it to happen because, well, by now I knew, well, obviously that happened, so I probably not, right? Cried, just cried. It's like 3 or 4 weeks. I just went and just cried and cried. Um, and at that point, she started sharing that she was going to do like a yoga birth class. Um, and I think it was something like $800 or something. I didn't have the money for it. I was pretty much getting the dollars to go to this yoga class as I could, and something told me I needed to go. I wanted to be in that room making myself cry for no reason, and I couldn't figure out why. I went up to the lady, and she didn't know me much longer than I just got there, you know. I'm only 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm just the blubbering crying girl over there in the corner. And I just said, I really want to do the yoga birth class, and I really don't have that money. I said, I have my daycare gig. If you let me come to the class, I swear I will pay as we go, and I will do it right. And immediately she's all yes. No hesitation in sight. As I say this, I'm reminded painfully over and over again of all the times where I didn't even try to ask for help from my partner, husband. I didn't try to ask because I always felt like it was a no, you know? But it's like I also think that in 10 years, like, damn, what if I would have tried? Like, what if I had said, hey, yo, I need this? I just don't know. I just really don't know. Because everything that I needed, I did it. I paid for my teacher training. I Every time I needed something, I pulled it out of the air. And he even admitted to me that. He's like, I'm so used to you pulling things out of a magic hat. Um, but yeah, she 100% was like, definitely, think nothing of it. This is totally perfect. So I did. I went to the yoga birth class, and I would pay her dollars every couple of weeks. It was, the whole way that all that kept working out. It only magic and synchronicity and manifesting could explain it. Like really, all my yoga experience, truly. I mean, I was so now fast forward. Um, I had been practicing yoga and healing me, but 9 years ago, I still had a lot of ways to go. So at one point, I think my son was probably like 3, and now I'm working at this restaurant, and I'm down in the restaurant, and they had really yummy cheeses and charcuterie, right? So every time, so I am the kind of person that when I work at a place, I do a really good job and I end up with my own job. So at the restaurant, I was like a part manager, part expediter, server, like because I'm literally like an octopus. I do so much good coverage. Like good coverage is like wording, but it's just the way it is. Even when I was working at Planned Parenthood, I was only there 6 months before I was nominated to be a center director, and I got it. It's just because like when I am doing something and especially something I enjoy, it's like I get all in there. So anyway, I'm at the restaurant and we had been going through some changes. It was really a frustrating night. And I'm downstairs. I'm kind of like, it's one of you, if you ever worked in the food service, I'm sure like you probably think about quitting like a couple times a week, if not every night. So I'm downstairs like, oh my God, this is just bullshit. You know, I'm sitting downstairs at the cheese fridge. Because at this point I got 3 jobs and I'm not I'm not doing enough. I'm not, to me, don't get me bored, especially back when I was bad. But anyway, I'm sitting in the basement eating cheese and I'm looking at my phone and I saw she's my teacher trainer, the yoga teacher that I learned teacher training from. I see her like sitting, she's got her face like propped on her hand like this. And it was just real casual, like, would you want to do a teacher training over the summer? Something, something, something. And I'm like, literally with cheese everywhere. I'm like, oh, I didn't know how I would get the money. At this point, I'm working nights because, oh God, don't be so mean, Nancy. But it's the truth. Because, like, while I was married, I really could only plan time away when the kids would be asleep because edit, 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 edit. Because that was the way life was. I felt very unsupported. So, I wasn't sure how I would pull off doing on in-person classes. I think it was like 4 days a week, and it was for the whole summer, so like 3 months in person. But I knew it. I immediately wrote back me. I was like, I'm in. My partner was actually really supportive of the idea. Of course, like I got a babysitter, and that girl, she was such a blessing. She never missed a day. And for a 16-year-old to be that good, to be that consistent and that like dependable, I believe that baby girl was a gift to me, like times 10. Because I'm sort of like a nut. I am that dependable. And it's hard to come by. It's hard to come by that, that kind of consistency. But, she never one time, I never once was late. I never once had to miss a beat. And it's pretty much been like that since I've started learning and practicing yoga. Every time I go, it's there. And it's funny, when I first started learning yoga, back when I was still in prenatal and like pregnant, um, I kind of thought at one point, is this it? We're just gonna just these couple poses, like, is this really it? You guys been doing these poses like for years, huh? Just these same couple things, huh? I had no idea. So many different, so many difference. And I had no idea. I love that I was so wrong. But yeah, yoga helped me slow down my brain, helped me cry a lot out, and helped me let go of the funky thoughts that were keeping me stuck in different situations that I didn't like. And I wouldn't have known